This was the moment boxing fans around the world had been waiting for, perhaps for too long. The trilogy between Gennady, Triple G Golovkin and Saul Canelo Alvarez wasn't just the end of a rivalry. It was the closing chapter of one of boxing's most closely contested and emotionally charged sagas. Years of anticipation, debates, controversy, and speculation finally reached their boiling point inside a packed arena filled with anticipation. The crowd roared as the fighters made their entrances, both legends in their own right. In the blue corner stood Golovkin, the iron-jawed Kazakh known for his relentless style, devastating jab, and signature power. Across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing red trunks with white trim and weighing in at 167.4 pounds, stood the reigning, defending, undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Canelo Álvarez. Calm, composed, and confident, Canelo stepped into the ring for his 23rd world title fight, already having unified a division and conquered weight classes. The referee called both men to the center, issued his final instructions, and reminded them to obey his commands. The bell was about to ring not just on a fight, but on history. As the first round began, both fighters looked to assert themselves. The stakes were enormous, and the tension could be felt with every feint, every jab, every subtle step forward or backward. Golovkin, now fighting at 168 pounds, didn't look as filled out as some expected. His usual physical presence seemed diminished, his timing just slightly off, as if searching for the rhythm he once found effortlessly. Canelo, on the other hand, came out sharp, calculating, looking for openings with bad intentions. He had told the world he was aiming for a first-round knockout, and even entered the arena to "Mama said knock you out," signaling his focus and aggression. From the opening seconds, he applied smart pressure, stepping into range with confidence, cutting off the ring, and making Golovkin work. But Golovkin, known for his technical discipline, wasn't easy to corner. He moved laterally, particularly to his left, avoiding the mistake he made in the second fight where he often backed up straight under pressure. His jab was active, his eyes alert, his posture upright, but something still seemed missing. The fight began unfolding slowly, not as explosive as many expected, but with a subtle, high-stakes tension that only top-level boxing can bring. Canelo's accuracy stood out early. His body shots were measured, his right hand landed with authority, and his left hook seemed to constantly threaten Golovkin's guard. Golovkin had success in moments, particularly with his jab and a few strong hooks, but he appeared reluctant to fully commit, especially to the body. This was a major issue in the second fight, and once again, he seemed hesitant to go downstairs, perhaps wary of Canelo's powerful counters. The younger fighter, quicker on his feet, and more willing to throw with intent, began building momentum. As the rounds progressed, his punch output increased, and his combinations became more fluid. Golovkin, although still fundamentally sound, was now beginning to look his age. His feet didn't move as quickly, his balance occasionally faltered after exchanges, and his combinations lacked the velocity and snap of his prime. By the middle rounds, the fight had taken on a familiar shape. Canelo was in control, not recklessly aggressive, but clearly dictating pace and range. His punches were short and effective, landing cleanly and consistently. Golovkin, while landing occasionally, wasn't able to sustain any pressure. His corner urged him to let his hands go, to take risks, but he continued to fight cautiously, more reactive than proactive. Perhaps it was respect, perhaps it was caution, or perhaps it was simply the reality of aging in a young man's sport. Canelo, meanwhile, never looked rushed. He picked his moments, slipped punches with minimal movement, and countered with precision. Even as a cut opened over his right eye, he stayed composed and alert. The damage wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Golovkin's best efforts had little effect, and it was beginning to show in his body language. There were moments, however, when Golovkin reminded the world who he was. In the 8th round, he landed a beautiful uppercut and followed it up with a triple jab combination, briefly trapping Canelo against the ropes. The crowd responded, sensing the spark of the big drama show that had made Golovkin a fan favorite for years. But just as quickly as the fire appeared, it faded. Canelo calmly escaped, reset the distance, and resumed control. It became clear that Golovkin's flashes of success were too few and too far apart. He wasn't able to impose himself physically or mentally. He looked like a man trying to reach back into the past, to a version of himself that was no longer fully there. Even his power, once feared throughout the sport, didn't seem to carry the same weight. When he landed, Canelo absorbed the shots without panic or retreat. As the championship rounds approached, the reality was setting in. Barring a dramatic knockout, Golovkin would not win this fight. The scorecards would favor Canelo, who had been more active, more accurate, and more effective throughout. But Golovkin, to his credit, kept pushing. In the 11th round, he found some success again. Another jab, a sharp right hand, an uppercut that got the crowd's attention. He was fighting with heart, refusing to be dismissed, even if the result seemed inevitable. The 12th and final round began with both men meeting in the center of the ring. There was no animosity, only mutual respect. Still, the urgency returned. Golovkin, knowing time was running out, let his hands go more freely, while Canelo remained dangerous, looking to end things definitively. In those last 3 minutes, they gave everything they had left. It wasn't just about winning or losing anymore. It was about finishing what they started, giving closure to the story they had written together over the years. When the final bell rang, both men raised their gloves. The crowd stood and applauded, not just the fight, but the journey. Moments later, the decision was announced. As expected, the judges awarded the fight to Canelo Álvarez. Still the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world,